There are places on Earth where the sand itself remembers. Places where entire cities vanish without a trace. In the heart of the Arabian desert lies a mystery older than time itself. A kingdom said to be cursed by God, buried in a single night beneath mountains of sand. The people called it Iram of the Pillars. But explorers, they named it Ubar, the Atlantis of the sands. For centuries, the story of Ubar was dismissed as a myth, until NASA satellites uncovered something hidden deep beneath the dunes. And what they found was not just a city. It was a warning. Ancient Islamic texts describe Iram as a city of unimaginable wealth. Towers that reach the clouds. Pillars carved from white stone and gold. The people of Iram traded in spices and frankincense, the perfume of the gods. But the Quran speaks of them as arrogant, defiant against divine warning. So the Almighty destroyed them in a storm of sand that lasted 7 nights and 8 days. When the winds cleared, Iram was gone, buried under dunes so vast that no one could ever find it again. Or so they thought. Centuries later, explorers and poets began calling it the Atlantis of the sands. British explorer T. Lawrence of Arabia became obsessed with finding it. He believed Iram was real, a lost trade empire that once ruled the frankincense routes. But Lawrence died before he could begin his search. The dream of finding Iram passed to another man, Bertram Thomas, a civil servant and adventurer. In the early 1930s, Thomas crossed the most dangerous desert on Earth, the Rub al Khali, the empty quarter. What he found was unsettling. Bedouin nomads who refused to enter certain regions. They said there were holes that swallowed men, and voices that called from beneath the S. And, for decades, stories of Ubar stayed buried under skepticism, until modern science stepped in, and technology began peeling back the desert secrets. In the 1980s, NASA used radar-equipped satellites to map ancient caravan routes under the Rub al Khali. Across hundreds of miles of dunes, one pattern stood out, several ancient paths converging on a single point. That point was Shiza, Oman. When archaeologists dug there, they found the remains of towers, white stone, massive pillars, and a huge circular depression, a sinkhole. As excavation continued, the ground beneath the site suddenly gave way. Workers fell into a massive underground chamber 40 feet deep. Inside were walls carved with symbols no scholar could identify. The air inside the cavern was wrong. Tools malfunctioned. Compasses spun wildly. Some workers said they heard voices whispering names they didn't recognize. Then came the sickness. Several men fell violently ill. One collapsed, claiming to see figures of light watching from the walls. Within days, the dig was shut down. Local Bedouins warned the archaeologists from the start. Ubar was not just a city. It was a prison for the jinn. In Arabic mythology, jinn are ancient beings made of smokeless fire. Some are benign, others are not. According to one legend, King Shaddad of Ubar defied God himself, claiming to be divine. As punishment, his people were cursed and the jinn sealed their city below the earth. And now, it had been unearthed. In 1992, NASA's radar revealed something even stranger. Beneath Shiza lay a perfect geometric structure, octagonal, metallic, unlike any natural formation. When a probe was lowered, it recorded a deep, rhythmic sound, like something breathing beneath the rock. Moments later, the signal cut off. The next morning, the hole was sealed. The Oman government declared the site off-limits for safety reasons. But locals say military trucks came and took something from the site under heavy guard. Within weeks, the site was covered again, buried by the desert as if reclaiming what was taken. Satellite images showed dunes shifting unnaturally fast, burying equipment overnight. Researchers who stayed in nearby camps reported vivid nightmares, dreams of cities burning in sand, of golden towers collapsing into dust. One archaeologist described hearing a voice in his tent whispering, "You should not have come." The next day, he left the dig and never returned to Oman. So what really lies beneath the sands of Ubar? Some scientists say it's just an ancient fortress and outpost swallowed by erosion. Others believe it's proof of a lost civilization far older than Egypt or Sumeria. But then there's the classified footage, a brief 12-second clip leaked online in 2004. It shows a tunnel, walls carved in spirals, and a faint light moving. Experts say it's a hoax. Others claim it's the last surviving evidence that something ancient is still awake beneath the sand. Today, Ubar remains closed. The wind has buried it once more a secret beneath a sea of silence. But every year, the desert shifts, just enough to reveal something new. A fragment of a pillar, a sound that shouldn't exist, a shadow that moves without wind. Maybe the legend of Ubar was never a myth. Maybe it was a warning written in sand, a story the earth itself is trying to forget. They say the desert never forgets. Every grain of sand once belonged to something. A city, a dream, a secret buried by time. Ubar, the city of 1,000 pillars, was once a beacon of power and pride. But perhaps it wasn't destroyed by wrath. Perhaps it was protected. Protected from us. Because every time mankind digs too deep, we find something that shouldn't be touched. From Egypt's tombs to the ruins of Mohenjo-daro, to the ocean floor where Atlantis sleeps. Every ancient fall whispers the same warning. Some doors are not meant to be opened. And maybe, somewhere under the dunes of Oman, Ubar still breathes, a city asleep beneath its own chaos. Waiting for another explorer to disturb the silence. When that day comes, the desert will open again, and the world will learn what happens when forgotten gods are remembered. Until then, the sands will keep their secret, and Ubar will remain a shadow on the map, buried not in myth, but in memory. This was the forgotten city beneath the desert. Some truths are buried for a reason, and the desert never gives back what it takes. Like, share, and subscribe. Because once this story disappears, you may never find it again.